more clear coming out of the caucus if we had also the opportunity of speaking about the good news of the interest rates falling.
Mr. Casey?
Clarify where things stand.
Nope.
It's Canadian.
We bring you breaking news as the Liberal caucus meeting finally concluded after 3.5 hours. There was a lot to glean from what was said to reporters, and more importantly, what wasn't said.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
Clarify where things stand now with the Liberals. Are you united behind the Prime Minister?
We're united in defeating Poilievre next campaign.
Okay, you're seeing some cabinet ministers come out there. Karina Gould saying the House leader saying was a robust conversation inside caucus. Soraya Ferrada Martinez, who is the Liberal national co-chair, I think that is the Prime Minister, walking down the hallway there. So let's go back to that shot, gang, if we can. There's Justin Trudeau.
The Liberal Party is strong and united.
Well, there you go. 3 hours and 16 minutes into caucus. The Prime Minister says the Liberal Party is strong and united. We'll see if everyone agrees with that take from Justin Trudeau.
Comme d'habitude, on a eu un excellent caucus. On a eu la
As
chance de
usual, we had a
s'exprimer.
great caucus meeting. People were able to express themselves freely. We talked about the good news on the economy, the inflation rate, and we're one big family.
C'est pas une discussion qu'on a eue entre qui
This
est
is
sur un
not a discussion between one side or the other. The fact is, people have a right to express themselves. People did. And I'm telling you, we're a good caucus, a good family, and we'll win the next election.
No, I'm saying that we as a party recognize that the real threat here is Pierre Poilievre, and that's what we're fighting for. That's why I came back.
In your opinion, should Trudeau stay out as leader?
Trudeau has made very clear that he feels he's the right choice, and but he appreciates all of what is being said because he's reflecting on what is being done across Canada. So I respect his decision, whatever that may be.
What do you mean? What is
So
being done?
does that mean
Reflecting
he's
on
still
what is being done across Canada? What do you mean?
Listen, we have recognized that times are improving. People had a rough road, and economic recovery is there. Social policies are put in place. A lot is threatened if Pierre Poilievre comes into play, and I think people need to understand that. We haven't done a good job of reflecting on what the alternatives can be, and I think that's the real choice.
But can you clarify if you're leaving the caucus with the understanding that the Prime Minister is reflecting on its future, or if the decision
I
is
am
to stay?
telling you that we as a party have to stay united, recognizing that the real threat is Pierre Poilievre, and what is going to take place should he become the leader is also
Delivering for Canadians and resolve in winning the next election.
Est-ce que la lettre a été présentée?
Ce qui est important, moi je vous dirais, les gens qui nous regardent, non mais je vous entends, mais si vous voulez une réponse, il faut que vous ayez la chance de pouvoir vous parler, puis aux gens qui nous écoutent. Ce que je peux vous dire, c'est qu'on a eu une très bonne discussion.
Is that we had a very good discussion, an important discussion, because I think this is a discussion we can be proud of. It was a good time to have this discussion, and what is coming out of that discussion is that we are united to continue to serve Canadians into the next election.
What made you united?
Well, look at us. You know, you'll see people. Well, people, because it's like in a family. What happens in caucus is like a family. You need to listen to each other. You need to make sure you welcome the views of people. But at the end, it's like a dinner table. At the end of the dinner, we all need to come out and relentless focus on serving Canadians and winning the next election. That's what you're going to do.
The fundamental values of this country stopping me and saying you've got to find some way to stop him and what he would do to this country. So having conversations about how to best to do that, I think is important.
What changes are going to be made?
C'est pas une question de dissidence, c'est une question de l'aider
It's a question
le progrès de M.
of helping to stop Mr. Poilievre's progress. He is a threat to all our Canadian values. And the concern is out there. There was a good discussion about the best way to put a stop to the possibility of a Poilievre government, because that is a serious threat.
Unity after dissension. Like, we're calling it a revolt.
Well, I mean, you guys put all kinds of words to it. I'm in the caucus. What I'm hearing is an ongoing conversation about how we work as a team. And I can tell you, I was in those caucuses in 04 and 06 and 08 and 11. And a lot of those times there was camps, like people supporting this leader, that leader. That isn't this at all. This is about, what's the best way to stop values. What Mr. Poilievre would do to this country is the type of thing that keeps us all up at night. And I have a lot of pride in a caucus that's willing to have tough conversations. I think that's, and I don't think there's nothing.
Is he staying on as leader? Is that decided, or is that still an open question?
Well, he has already made clear his views on that. I think he will be even more clear as he speaks to you. But what is even more clear coming out of the caucus is we had also the opportunity of speaking about the good news of the interest rates falling.
Mr. Casey?
Clarify where things stand.
Nope.
Canadians out of the economy.
Okay, folks.
So the significance of that last clip is that was Mr. Casey just trying to slip by the reporters, and he was the one who had spoken previously to, was it CBC News or was it CTV News?
It was CBC.
CBC regarding the petition that was going around the caucus, the rebel caucus, if you will.
Well, and he was just asked there, can you clarify what happened? And he just said, nope. So let's just kind of recap things. So yesterday, the Trudeau cabinet met. So this isn't the entire caucus. It's just the cabinet. And these are going to be the people that are most loyal to Trudeau, because these are the people that are getting paid the most. So, so they met for an extra hour and a half over and above their normal time yesterday. And what happened at the end of this caucus meeting? All the cabinet ministers came out and started talking to reporters. The interesting thing is that the message didn't change, which isn't too surprising. So they talked about a robust conversation. They talked about the value of letting people express their opinions. They talked about the fact that this is a big family and we're united. Pierre Poilievre is a threat to Canada. So much for dialing down the rhetoric after the Trump shooting. But anyway, let's just forget that happened. And that we're united as a Liberal Party to defeating Pierre Poilievre in the next election.
Extremely vague, but like those touchy-feely, warm, fuzzy talking points that they always have.
And then you had the only people that we saw, or sort of the only person that we saw come out of the caucus meeting that was one of the Rebel caucus, and he did not look happy at all. At all.
No, refused to talk to reporters, tried to sneak right by them, like behind Duclos. And like Ryan says, he did not look happy.
So here's what I think happened in the last 24 hours. So yesterday, I think they talked about their cabinet business, and then they spent the rest of the time talking about how they were going to manage the caucus meeting today. And they also most likely decided, what are our talking points going to be? Let's agree upon those after the caucus meeting happens. So what we know about the caucus meeting today isn't very much, but we do know that multiple people stepped forward to the mic and they spoke. We don't know what they said, but we do know that they were speaking out against Justin Trudeau, so that did happen. And my guess is Trudeau and this caucus, in their patronizing way, said, we really thank you, everybody, for coming forward and feeling that you're able to express your opinions. We welcome that. So we just want to thank you for that. And most likely that's what happened. And then they said their piece and like, oh, well, we think this has been a robust, fruitful discussion. Thank you so much for bringing that forward. But we all need to agree that the big enemy right here is Pierre Poilievre. Let's just stand united in that. We all need to make sure, and don't talk to reporters, by the way, because they were also some of their generalists that were waiting for updates from people got texts from people inside the caucus meetings, and we were expressly told not to say anything to you.
Right, and that was likely the backbenchers that were told not to say anything. I'm sure what had happened was the cabinet members were taught yesterday exactly what they should be saying, which they then said today, and the backbenchers were said, don't talk to reporters.
Now, given that this is the second or third time that they've actually tried to raise this in a constructed way, it makes me wonder what's going to happen next, because this isn't over, folks. This is just starting.
Well, and also the thing that complicates all this is this morning, from what we understand, there was a petition from Liberal Party members. So not people who are MPs or senators or cabinet members, but people who are card-carrying members of the Liberal Party, regular everyday voters, and even they want Trudeau gone.
Right. So this is starting, and they even lay out in this letter, basically, we want to get back to a center-right party. We want to get away from like DEI. We want to get away from all this stuff. So they're actually laying that out in the letter, and this was reported on in the Globe and Mail. So this is complicating things even more, because now the voters are getting restless and saying, okay, you guys obviously aren't doing anything at the government level. Now hear from us, the actual party members.
The people.
And they're calling on a vote for Justin Trudeau. So what could happen out of this? Well, given what we heard from Ken MacDonald yesterday, what could happen is that the Rebel Caucus presented what they had to say, and Trudeau and company did their, pat on the head thing, as that most likely they were expected to do. And that probably just ticked them off even more. So they probably just said, okay. And it's possible they could now go further underground and say, okay, when's the next confidence vote? Because he's obviously not going to step down. Because remember, he doesn't have to step down. The entire party could stand up and say step down, and he doesn't have to. So they could then just surprise this at a confidence vote, and Trudeau would be completely blindsided by it in the fall of the Liberal government.
Another thing that could happen is that this Rebel Liberal caucus could decide not to vote at all. They could abstain from voting. So if a confidence motion is presented, the Liberals obviously would vote confidence in the leader. The Conservatives, the Bloc, and or the NDP would vote against the leader. And this Rebel caucus not voting at all could be enough for even just the Conservatives and the Bloc to team up and beat the Liberals who do vote confidence in Justin Trudeau.
Right, because if they abstain, then that's technically one minus vote for the Liberal side. And the other interesting thing is the NDP actually wouldn't see whether that's going to happen until it does, because the opposition sides would vote first, and then it goes to the government side. So the NDP may choose to abstain, and then they see all these Liberals abstaining, and then they're like, uh-oh, and then the government falls. So that's an option as well. And it keeps them a bit safer because they're not voting against the government, but they're choosing not to vote at all. So that's a pretty interesting scenario that could happen. But I think it's very telling what was said, what wasn't said, especially how Sean Casey reacted. He was ticked off. Otherwise, he would have went up to the mic and be like, "Oh yeah, we had a great conversation, and I think we're good, and how we're going to move forward with Trudeau." Like, come on.
Well, and the fact that at least it seems like he wasn't permitted to speak to reporters at all, I think that's very telling.
Well, and that's it, right? You have a bunch of people that are irritated in terms of the backbenchers. They speak at caucus, and then they're told, okay, so by the way, I'm staying on as leader. We're all going with this messaging, and don't you dare talk to anybody.
Well, and I think it's going to be a hard choice for those in the Rebel caucus, because I mean, it's not going the way they want. They were hoping that they would be able to present this petition to Trudeau. Trudeau would step down. They would get a new leader. They could stay on as Liberal MPs, hopefully get reelected in the next election. And now, just kind of from what we're seeing, it may not be going that way.
So if they thought this was going to be easy, I think they need to think again. And you already have some of these people that have been on TV publicly. You're going to get more questions. So it's going to be put up or shut up time now for these people in the Rebel Caucus. Because yeah, you've been saying, well, you know, it's not about the leadership anymore. It's about, you know, it's about the country. It's about the party. Well, time to put your money where your mouth is.